Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to the regular meeting for the City of South Fulton. Let me ask, Madam Clerk, do we have any items taking action in executive session?
No, Mayor, you did not.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to close executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to close executive session.
Second.
Properly moved to second, any discussion? All those in favor? I'll entertain another motion to close the work session.
I'd like to make a motion to close the work session.
Second.
Properly moved to second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the motion?
Good evening. I have to do roll call.
Yes.
Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Gumbs.
Present.
Councilmember Willis.
Present.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Present.
Councilmember Jackson.
Present.
Councilmember Khalid.
Present.
Councilmember Baker.
Present.
And also present is Mayor Bill Edwards. You have a quorum.
You can show, Councilman Rogers coming to the meeting.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have invocation by our chaplain, followed by the pledge of allegiance. You all please stand.
Let us all stand. The office of the chaplain would like to introduce to Mayor and Council our second chaplain of the day, who's none other than the Bishop W. Michael Leach, the Apostle Overseer of Kingdom Life Church, whereby his church is in the heart of District 6. He is a strong supporter of the Honorable Mayor William Bill Edwards. Let us welcome Bishop Michael Leach.
Good evening to each and every one of you. Before we pray, as I was praying today, let me say this. There are a lot of people about you who wish you to fail. There's a lot of cities wish that you would not be able to make it, even from the old regimes. So it's your job, it's imperative to stay together and not implode from the inside.
Amen.
And even let external forces break you apart.
Amen.
Because
Amen.
you're on the verge of something that's never been before.
Absolutely.
And when I pray, I believe it's going to be done.
Amen. Amen. Say
Let's
that.
pray.
Say that.
Almighty God, we pray for this body. We praise you and thank you for this day, that you've given us opportunities to appreciate life, to fulfill the missions that you have given unto us for peace and progress. Please, from the beginning, even think, forgive our sins, forgive shortcomings, forgive divisiveness, forgive uncertainties, disagreements, that everyone can come together and love and agree to disagree. Grant Mayor Edwards and all who sit on this council and all the support staff the wisdom to lead this city of South Fulton into uncharted waters to become a prototype for all new cities about this nation. I pray health for each one, strength for each one. I pray for their families, that they not grow weary in well-doing, and they not faint in this day of adversity, for they will succeed. Because it takes long hours, strengthen them therefore. Father, bless their endeavors, especially this meeting tonight. Guide every discussion. We call for productivity. Enlighten every mind and every decision that is made. Give your grace to all so that every public servant here may produce the synergy needed to get the job done. Bless every plan. Bless every program. Bless every project so that objectives can be achieved for the good of this community, the city of South Fulton, and for your greater glory. We do all these things in the name that is above every name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
I would ask that if you have any cell phones, you put it to the off or put it to the side of the that's even up here. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor and Council, The first item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. We have the meeting minutes from March 19th public hearing, the March 19th work session and regular meeting, proclamations, Susie May Appreciation Day, Bulldogs Basketball Appreciation Day, Renaissance Church of Christ Dedication Appreciation Day, Reverend Dr. Aaron and Mrs. Sheila Parker Day. And then we have the council request for approval to authorize the city manager to enter into an architectural service agreement with S&P Design Construction for the schematic designs not to exceed $50,000. A request council to approve the city manager to enter into an agreement between the city of South Fulton and BAE Urban Economics to prepare an economic development strategic plan not to exceed $80,000. Request for council approval to enter into a second-year renewal with Microsoft Enterprise Agreement for a total cost of $260,909.60. Request council to approve an intergovernmental agreement for provision of animal control services between Fulton County and South Fulton, Georgia. And a resolution regarding additional pro tem judges for the South Fulton Municipal Court and other lawful purposes.
I need
So I would like to make I would like to pull item AGR 2019-008 for discussion. Also, I would like to pull item AGR 2019-010 for discussion to the regular agenda.
Okay, Ms. Julia.
I would like to pull AG 209007.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, before you, Councilmember Gilliard, where do you want to pull for the agenda or for another meeting?
I want to pull for the regular agenda.
Okay, thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Properly moved and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously, Madam President.
Next, we have approval of the regular meeting agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to move the financial report directly after the zoning walk.
Okay, so is everybody tied into the queue?
Second.
Okay, that's right. Okay. Madam Clerk, you want to take these individually, these amendments? You don't have to do it. You want to take them individually?
She can ask Councilmember Khalid if he would amend his motion.
No. He made a motion. I'm asking, do you want us to check, make all the amendments at one time or take them individually?
It would be fine if you do it all at one time.
Sure. No?
No, you didn't. Okay, I would like to add my resolution for the city of South Fulton in support of the proposed program to promote healthy and nutritious food options within the city.
Any further?
Yes. I would like to remove the ordinance 2019-0074 in regards to animal control as the second reading. There's still some additional vetting that needs to take place in regards to that.
To the April 9th meeting?
April 9th meeting?
April 26th meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Any further? I would like to caution you colleagues in terms of adding bucket names onto the agenda because it does not give the public an opportunity to see it only the regular agenda. So I would ask you all to be very careful as we go forward in terms of walking things. Ms. Gilliard.
The only reason why I'm adding mine on is because of the deadline, March 29th is the deadline.
so I couldn't move them.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll call for discussion. No.
We didn't add, simply.
Oh, absolutely. There was a proclamation that should have been on from the last meeting that we didn't get on, and we want to do it tonight.
Simply produce.
Simply produce.
It was an oversight.
Yeah.
It's,
This that they have?
Okay, did
as a
we?
walk-on, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. Okay. Do we make, do we,
So
all
council-
those in favor? That passes, okay? The agenda as amended. Was that the motion to pass the agenda as amended?
Councilmember Khalid made the motion, Councilmember Baker second. Councilmember Khalid accepted Councilmember Gilliard's amendments and Councilmember Gumbs' amendments.
Okay.
So yes, you just need to vote.
Okay. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Okay. Now we have proclamations and recognitions. Proclamation recognizing Jacqueline Slade and To Quit Appreciation Day is the first one. Proclamation recognizing Heritage Elementary School Appreciation Day. Proclamation recognizing Billy Jackson Appreciation Day. And proclamation recognizing Simply Produce LLC.
I'm going to they come down. Okay, y'all ready?
You all right?
You ready? That's my guy. Okay.
Good evening. I would like to ask Ms. Jacqueline Slade, please come up and, yeah, just come up for a second. No. We're going to bring up 250 quick, but I just want y'all to know who Jackie Slade is. So before we get into all the other pink and purple shirts, because she's just going to blend in a second. This has been a long time coming, and if you've ever come to any major event in the city of South Fulton, and even before we became a city, you've probably seen her and these illustrious young women out here bringing joy and start every party on the dance floor. I would like to ask 250 to quit, please come up.
Y'all gonna do a dance? I want y'all to do a dance.
Then we got them all, Mr. Committee.
All right, so I'm going to have to read it from the big heavy flag. Wait a minute, let me be Moses for a second.
I need to go.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I'm coming.
Okay, yeah, so I did go a little bit above and beyond, so I had to read it from it, but I think you deserve it. Ms. Slade is also a member of the Point of Red subdivision. Will y'all please stand up? I think they have on for you too. Come on. Yes. They're always really supportive in the district, and of course they couldn't allow you and be honored with our.
As our treasurer, Jackie Slade.
No, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lynette Kamara, the president of Fulton Ridge, and as our treasurer, Jackie, the board, we wanted to let you know how proud we are of you and your leadership with your team and the great work and the cause you do.
Thank
Okay, and the proclamation reads as follows. Proclamation, City of South Fulton. Whereas Jackie Slade, resident of Point Ridge, after 30 years of service with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, began her most recent endeavor in 2013 as a line dance instructor and founded Too Fit to Quit. Jacqueline Slade's passion for teaching dance translated into free dance classes for seniors at any recreational center that would allow her to hold a class. Today she teaches at recreation centers in Union City, College Park, Fairmont, and Riverdale, as well as the city of South Fulton. Whereas Ms. Slade has chosen the slogan, "No one left behind," where in her dance class you will find all types of people, those who walk, those in canes, those in walkers, and even those who can't walk.
That's right.
I'm being radically honest. I actually danced with the, continuing. Whereas Jackie Slade and 250 Quid have been special invited guests for the City of South Fulton's Christmas celebrations for District 5, Cliftondale Community Day for Districts 1, 2, and 3, Welcome All Park Fall Festival for District 3, and Black Veterans Helping Annual Picnic in Duncan Park, and the Point Ridge Community Block Party and Community Christmas celebrations in District 7. And whereas Ms. Slade believes that 250 Quid is a ministry to seniors and service to the community, her desire is to reach as many seniors as possible, so she has begun training others that will carry the mission and further expand the footprint of 250 Quid. She looks forward to many years to come of helping people to benefit and become active through line dancing and helping to create a sense of community. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of South Fulton do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 26, 2019 as Jacqueline Slade and 250 Quid Day.
Y'all, I have to bring a cheat sheet with me. You know, when you get a certain age, they'll start flying forward and backwards, right? So I'm gonna bring my little cheat sheet. Cheat sheet. There we go. Okay, first of all, y'all, let me tell you something. This is a ministry. And the first thing I do when I stand in front and I said, thank you, God. Amen. I am going on 72 years old. And I love to move. My days start. My days start at 5:30 in the morning. Those are my grandchildren. That's my daughter. I start at 5:30 in the morning. I'm hitting the road at 6:45 to take children to school, grandchildren to school in Lower Fayette County. What is that? Brooks. So, you know what? I'm very active with my grandchildren. But then I need to think. Ma'am, where are you? Hold your hand up. Thank you. To the council, y'all know I've been dancing at y'all places. Hold your hand up. And to Mark, thank you so much. You're so special. Thank you so much. Give her flowers. And the thing is, I am in Mark's district. I'm District 7 in the Point Ridge subdivision. And I don't take things like this lightly, Mark. I don't expect people to say it. You know, I get a lot of things from God when He wakes me up in the morning. I'm thinking, Jesus, you let me make it through another day, and I'm still among the living. Amen. So I'm just so grateful, y'all. And my special, and after your thanks to my Point Ridge family, where's my real family? This is my daughter, my grandchildren. I remember that, he had to go to another thing tonight. But to my dancers, y'all, this is my family. It's dancers that travel with me every day. When I started this ministry 6 years ago, I did not know where it was going to go. How that I didn't even know people would listen to me. How that I didn't know that they'll say, that old lady gonna dance, I will cut a rug for you. Tell them I will cut a rug. But what y'all don't know, it's not about dance. When you retire, I don't know how many people can relate. I retired 10 years ago. I was walking around in the world that said, okay, I worked with those people 30-some years. Where do I go from here? Do I sit and watch TV all day and have a job and realize it's 5 o'clock and you don't say until the morning? I just go back to bed. No. The reason for this is that you have to recognize this is another life, y'all. Ain't nobody trying to die. This is another life, so you have to find connection. You have to find connection when you retire. I had to go around the corner, I volunteered, maybe they didn't appreciate me, and I was like, okay then, you know what? The Holy Spirit told me, he said, seniors. There are seniors you need to, who can tell them better than you? You are a senior. So you can tell them how to get up and move. I got people that, I'm talking about Haley. What she thinks she can do? What she needs to go down, she gonna get sick. I ain't done sick yet. I don't do sick, y'all. The flu was bouncing all around this year. I did not get sick. I don't do sick. So I get up and I move. I'm going to travel through a tornado to welcome all. Nobody was there but 3 people, and they said, oh, Miss Jackie, you came? And I was like, well, yeah, but let me tell you the funny thing. I started to go to Texas car and park under the shed, and I got there all the other people, so guys, I told you to keep going. So when I got there, he said, didn't I tell you? It started raining just as I got there. So you know what? If you don't tell me to stay at home, I'll stay at home. Okay? So I do want to recognize where are my directors of my centers. Mr. A, you don't know right here. Stand up. Mr. A is my librarian. I have 6 centers. Come around. I have 6 centers. I started with, I'm not at Fairman anymore. But I am at Ronald Bridges in Union City. I'm at Burbank on Monday with Mr. A. I'm at Tracy Lyon. I'm at what's that other one? But anyway, I did say welcome all. So I'm all over the place. And my new addition this year, I got a new appointment. I had to start going up in the centers where people live, the senior centers. Now I'm in Atlanta with 2 classes. I'm in one in Fairland. God said, I ain't run out of seniors. He wake me up every once in a while. I ain't run out. I say, oh man, where we going now? So I know I'm traveling, y'all. I move. And now I just got another appointment in last month to visit the library, South Fulton on Black Shores Road. That's a night class, so Rain, come on now. Come on out and join me. So I don't get too much. I don't even get tired. But sleep, me and sleep don't get along real well. But I just want to, so I do want to thank my HOA partners. I am part of the Friends of the Library also. I'm active in my church. I'm active with my family, my grandchildren. I participate, y'all. I'm not a deadbeat. I do my part. Can't nobody be running around, you know, when you don't start, you need to help other people. No. I try to help everybody. And my dancers know, nobody falls. Nobody falls. If somebody there, I find that somebody is falling, I'm right there to catch it. What's going on in your life? I also have the spirit of prophecy. I can see stuff if I'm around people. And then I tell them what's going on with you today. And then the next thing they know, I might slide them a little something. You know what I'm saying? So this is free. For all of y'all interested, this is free. You come. Now bring a token. Now I do have a money job, y'all. And the dances are free. But I do have, yes, my sister, come here, Regina. Oh, yeah, that's right, it's time for me to get with her. I'm sorry, Mom told me to do this. Mom said I could get as much as I want. But my last thing I want to say, yeah, there's no room for us to dance tonight. Listen, I'm gonna hush. I'm gonna give you a token. Come on, Regina, start giving the council people. Start with Mark. I give y'all a token. Y'all wanna know how we are? Yeah. And listen, we will do a gala. As of April the 26th, we will do our spring gala. We do 2 galas a year. Can y'all come and support us? Tickets are $5 in advance, $7 at the door. Please come and support us. We dance. Y'all want to see somebody dance? You sure? Then you can go tell your grandchildren, look at that. Now, grandma, mama need to get up there. But anyway, we're giving you a token. Regina, you done? Did you speak council people? All the people? Okay, so listen, Mark, thank you so much. I'm gonna end, so y'all let me come back again.
I need Ms. Crystal to come up, please. You can take a picture, but I need you in the picture too.
Yes, This is my friend Linda. Linda said you should be up in the front. You should be recognized. Oh. Y'all come in. Come on, Mr.
You got some steps.
On 3. Right here. Chicken feet. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Next time y'all got to do that.
I'm going to put your
Ms. Turner, or Principal Turner, and your set. I had the opportunity to meet the Principal Turner at Councilman Camus' event, Save Our Schools. I introduced myself and we had a very long conversation, and from that conversation I found myself becoming involved, trying to do some things in that particular school. And I gotta say, Helen, I was jealous of you. I'm like, now wait a minute, where my school is at? So I had to take a look, and Heritage was one of the ones that I guess I've kind of devoted myself to, because I kind of see some things there where we need some help. And I don't see my social, where's my little social worker there? She's not here today. Miss Rose. Is that her name? Rosie? Okay. And I'm not going to talk long, you guys. But anyway, I'm saying that all to say because we did a resolution for the Meadows, and that's right next door, the Meadows facility. And somebody said, uh-oh, yeah, but uh-oh, it's all in pop. But, you know, we are blessed, and this particular school is a Title I school, and the children that go there, they need our help. And that community, period, we've had a lot of problems in that community, and they have embraced those things as far as the gang violence, a lot of things that have happened around Heritage. These teachers have embraced that. They have embraced the children, and, you know, they've given them the love and the support that they need. But I'm getting ready to read the proclamation. Whereas Heritage Elementary School is a Title I school located in the Achievement Zone Learning Community of Fulton County Schools, and whereas Heritage Elementary School consists of 473 pre-K through 5th grade students, of which 98% are African American. And whereas Heritage Elementary School was recognized by the state of Georgia for being a high progress school and being among the top 10% of the state's Title I schools, making the most progress in improving the all-student group over 3 years on the statewide assessment. And whereas Heritage Elementary School was recognized by the state of Georgia for the last 3 years as a beat the odds school for having a higher CCRPI score than similar schools serving comparable students in Georgia. Whereas during the 2017-2018 school year, Heritage Elementary School's CCRPI score increased by 16.9 points, and whereas during the 2017-18 school year, Heritage Elementary School moved from an F to a D school. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of South Fulton congratulates Heritage Elementary School for their achievements and do by here proclaim today, Tuesday, March 26, 2019, as Heritage Elementary School's Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton, Georgia. Thank you, Councilwoman Jackson. I told her if you need a mic, but she did it anyway. So, I have to recognize my outstanding staff because, as you know, one person can't do the work alone. And I promise you I have the most dedicated and hardworking staff there is on this side of heaven. Our students are very challenging. I would say that we have the most challenging students in Fulton County. Our mobility rate is over 75%. And most of our students come from Godby Road, and those departments right behind. So, but every day they come ready. Our staff meet them and greet them and really try to change their mindsets, because we know that if we don't, we know the outcomes for kids. Yes, right. So again, we are dedicated to this cause. Although we've seen steady increase, but again, our challenges are great, guys, and we accept any type of support that we can get, because you can imagine, because of the state of a lot of my parents, they're just not able to be involved at this time. A lot of my parents are in crisis situations, which means a lot of my students are in crisis situations. So again, we want to be with the crowd, with the group of students that we're with. We know that we can continue to make a difference in their lives. So I'll just ask you all to continue to pray for us when you get down on your knees, and we will continue to experience the success that we're having. We have milestones coming up, and we're looking for great things out of our students. So thank you for this recognition. Come up a little further so they can come up. Oh, here.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation is recognizing Millie Jackson Appreciation Day.
In recognition of Women's History Month, I couldn't think of a woman that was more tenacious and bold than our very own Millie Jackson. So I wanted to bring you up and recognize you. Do you have any family or friends you remember?
Come on. Yes, sir. I'm coming.
The proclamation reads, whereas Millie Jackson is a music industry icon whose risque soul and pop music has been stamped bawdy, brash, and liberating, Whereas one of her most noticed songs include It Hurts So Good, featured in the Warner Brothers film Cleopatra Jones, and her Funky Symphony is one of her most re-recorded pieces. What? The Clean Version.
Cleaning it up.
The Clean Version. Millie Jackson, one of the best female R&B vocalists from Cashbox magazine, and reached acclaim on the national pop charts when she collaborated with Elton John to release the single and music video Act of War, which earned her crossover appeal. Where she has held record deals with Spring Records, Jive, Zomba Records, Itchy Bomb Records, and produced and performed with musical legends like Isaac Hayes, Elton John, Sting, and has been featured on the Rapper the Blacks single Unrestricted. Whereas Ms. Jackson has produced gold for the album Caught Up and a string of other hit albums to include Get It Out of Your System, Hard Times, A Moment's Pleasure, Live and Uncensored, For Men Only, I Had to Say It, A Little Bit Country, and Live and Outrageous, which is a testament to her widely embraced, liberated lyrical approach. Where she has created, financed, and directed, starred in Young Males, Older Women, which broke numerous box office records during its 4-year run and created a sequel musical play entitled It's All Over. Whereas Millie Jackson hosted a daily radio show on KKDA in Dallas, Texas, from various locations around the country, and she remains inspired to record the types of songs and materials that made her the outspoken, liberated Millie Jackson, who now records her music and other artists under her own label, Weird Wrecked Up. And whereas this legend launched her career in Harlem, New York nightclubs, but transplanted her to Georgia, and for many decades she has resided in an area that is now the city of South Fulton. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor of the city council of the city of South Fulton hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 26th as Millie Jackson Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton.
We want a song.
Come on. Let me say something. I'm gonna be nice. I'm sure.
We gonna make sure.
Who wrote it?
No, you couldn't even pronounce the song correctly.
When I was 4 years old, I remember Millie Jackson. But listen, you know what? This is the second proclamation I've been involved with for you. With the county, remember? We gave them the proclamation. Getting old.
Was that the one that?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, so that's why y'all wouldn't let me say nothing.
Hush, Anyway, thank you so much. This is an icon in our community, and it's somebody that we need to praise and enjoy today. So, I don't care how much you spend, you will be my friend, okay? I like that how when you sitting on that. I don't mind. Let me get you talk now. Go ahead.
The album you say you like.
Don't do it.
Was there anything I was doing on that album that we all don't do? No.
You're right.
I mean, it's real. I mean, is there anyone here who goes to the bathroom without sitting on the toilet? I just want to know. I mean, I'm for real. And she had the audacity. Who wrote all these whereas? You did that? But there's one you could have left off because it was wrong. She didn't know how, whoever did this, to delete the name of my song, so she should have just left it off. Instead of pronouncing the song wrong. But I'm going to be nice.
Thank you, Millie.
I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to talk as long as... Someone say it's okay, say it, darling. Why does she have something to say? most famous song for y'all. All right. Yes. Take your time. I'm going to do my most famous song for y'all. In memory of this, I'm just going to say, thank you. Thank you.
I love this song.
All right.
So, I am your councilwoman, you know that, and you give me a hard time all the time.
I do not.
But she is a fox, isn't she a fox? So I just want to say you are an icon in District 2 in the city of South Fulton, so we do support you. And we are so happy you have your own day in the city of South Fulton. So hang that up somewhere. When I come to your house, I want to see it.
I'm going to have to take something down.
Congratulations.
I bring her mail because the mail, you know, nowadays they done forgot how to deliver mail. So I get more of her mail than I do my own mail. So I don't know if she get in mine.
I don't get in your mail.
You don't get in my mail? I bring her mail. I take the time. I think she should have her mail.
Look at her smiling.
1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. Thank you.
Now put that in the AJ. No, we gonna be on here.
AJ probably told me. Oh, that's a song.
Our next proclamation is Simply Produce LLC.
My husband and my daughter are going to Outcast tonight.
Robert?
Her daughter looks just like her.
Yes, she do. I met her.
Believe it or not, this month is National Nutrition Month. That's what we are, it's not only honoring women, but we are honoring nutrition. And I am so happy and proud that we have one of the most nutritious businesses in our community who offer fresh produce. And I'm also happy that Simply Produce decided to stay in District 3 when they were really on the cusp of leaving last year and going to College Park. So because it was more density off of Old National. And so we begged, the community begged and asked her to please give us an opportunity to make her business successful. We told her we would patronize her, we would help promote her, and that's what we did. And so she not only sells fresh produce, but she also sells juice. So you can go in there and you can see a menu of juices named after community members in our community. And one is not up there for me yet because I like watermelon. And she told me that watermelon is seasonal. So I got to come up with the juice to include vegetables and fruit that's not seasonal that I like. So today, the city of South Fulton, whereas Simply Produce is locally owned, family-run business in District 3 in the city of South Fulton, located at 3375 Roosevelt Highway.
The store opened September 21st, 2016, manifesting a vision that had been in the making for almost 20 years. Whereas owner Deanna Butler is a mom of 5 and a 14-year resident of the city. She aims to provide seasonal, hand-selected produce to ensure area residents have access to the freshest and most nutritious and tastiest fruits and vegetables in the region. Whereas sourced from local growers and from Butler-owned gardens, Simply Produce carries a diverse inventory from southern favorites like collard greens, peaches, seeded watermelons, to exotic fruits like dragon fruit. Whereas also offered are freshly prepared salads and fruit bowls and juice bar with numerous affordable selections. Due to overwhelming support from the local community, some of the juices on the menu now bear the names of customers. Whereas during the month of March, National Nutrition Month is celebrated annually throughout the U.S. The campaign encourages Americans to make informed food choices and develop sound eating habits. And whereas Simply Produce emphasizes these values, not just in March, but every day by providing healthy options for South Fulton families and sharing information on how to eat for wellness. Now, therefore be it resolved, the mayor and city council of the city of South Fulton commend Simply Produce for their contribution to the city of South Fulton and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, March 26, 2019 as Simply Produce Appreciation Day in the city of South Fulton, Georgia.
I heard that part about the 46-year-old mama 5, right? I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that felt like we deserved this. We worked really, really hard. When you come into the building, we're just one room, but we're working to be the first woman, black-owned, international farmers market in the state of Georgia. Thank you to everybody that support us and all of the new faces that I see that'll be in there tomorrow. But that's it. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We're Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sometimes we may stay to 7. Saturday, we have a sale every Saturday. We're open 10 a.m. until we sell out. Yes, I have a bunch of cards.
Where is it at, the address?
The address? Comes in the store.
3375 Roosevelt Highway, Suite M.
It's in the Buffington Road. So Buffington Road is right across. Okay. Just beat me down.
I just want to say that this is your best advertisement, right?
Yeah, it is.
This man stands out on the sidewalk. You didn't got your car. Here, you need your bills today? As a matter of fact, I ain't got no plans in 3 or 4 months. I don't know what the season is or what, but y'all can work hard, a good time with you, and we want you to go into that farmers market that you featured today. We want to make sure that it happens for you, okay? Thank you so much.
Wait, wrong card. She's giving me a card. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Stay there. All right. Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
The next item on the agenda is public comments. Each speaker will be granted up to 2 minutes each, and public will not exceed 30 minutes. Speaker will Curd, Brandon Fulton, and Linda Orange.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What can we do about? I'm sorry, ma'am. Please state your name.
I'm sorry.
And your My name is Angela Curd, and I am in District 6. Okay, my concern is this waste industry company. They are gouging different people. My bill went from $43 to $59, and I called about it today because I had talked to my neighbors. We just happened to be outside and we were talking. They're paying $53. I'm like, well, why am I paying so much? So when I called, they said, well, it depends on how long you've been living in Lakewood. I said, well, I was here before some of them. So we went back and forth, and I was angry, and I was like, you know what? Let me find another company. Then finally they told me, well, if you're a senior, we could give you a discount. They should have been doing that in the beginning. On top of that, they don't want to pick up bags on the side. But if you want another trash can, they want to charge you an extra $24 a month, even if you have your own. So we need to do something about this trash company, or get somebody else, because they know that they're the main big one, but they're cheating the people, and it's not right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this Saturday, we had about 5 or 6, 10 horses running from. My name is Reverend. Everybody knows. We had about 7, 10 horses running from Butler Road to Bedford Estates in the dark. Any one of these people could have been driving and hit one of them. They were not my horses. Chief Meadows was there. Nobody got cited a ticket from the farm next door. However, I always get cited for something. His very bias was going on here. Extremely biased. Mayor, attorney, manager. Why nobody got a ticket next door? Y'all delivered the people their horses and gave them no ticket. Now, I got charged for a ticket for horses that wasn't even mine, and LaDawn tried to prosecute me, and it got thrown out. It keep happening. Y'all keep doing biased things. And I keep coming over here speaking it to everyone, and nobody does nothing. Y'all just look at me like I'm a robot. So what are we gonna do? We gonna stop being biased? Chief Meadows, what's up? Why you ain't writing no ticket? This is the second time you did this with the people next door. I'm starting to think that y'all dealing with the people next door on a personal level. Right. Maybe y'all dealing with the woman, or she knows something about you that other people don't know. I'm just keeping it 100. Because nobody's getting tickets over there. And I'm constantly getting tickets over and over, and they get dismissed in the court. So what's the difference? What's the difference?
You make your remarks toward us, please.
What are we going to do? The property owner of that property is not the borders. The ticket will go to the property owner. The property owner is Candace Reverend and Kayla Dillard. She's a surgeon. Her husband's a commissioner in Rockdale County. It's public record. Why you don't cite them the ticket so we go to court and we can fix the issue about the loose horses? I'm tired of fixing the fences and it's on me.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Orange, and my concern is for my property that I have over on Mason Road. Is in.
Yeah, my name is Jimmy Orange, and my wife Linda Orange.
The property is at 5590 Mason Road. So you've had this property there and been developing it for about 12 years. Basically, my husband single-handedly. But my concern here tonight is for the moratorium that's on the zoning. You know, we want the moratorium to go forward so we'll be able to have this use permit to be able to change the use of the facility from a daycare to a personal care home. We want to open this personal care home to serve the veterans. It'll house about 24 veterans, and we can open it up to do that and get some of the homeless veterans off the street. So I really just came here for us to be able to know that we're trying to do that and try to provide some place for them, and we don't want to have the hold up so that we can go ahead and go forward with the project. My husband's working on this project for about 12 years. There's nothing old on this property. We have zoning already for adult daycare, and my understanding is that a personal care home is the same type of zoning, but we have to have a use change permit. So we just request that go forward and let us do what we need to do to be able to make this thing happen. And that's it. Thank you. Pardon me?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been working on this project for 12 years, and you know, just believe and trust in God. Debt free, as my Pastor Quentin always said. You know, you have to trust God and out of vision, and I've just been trusting God to be able to go forward. Now we are in a position. My wife is a licensed nurse, graduate of Ball State. I'm a graduate of AUSA. My sibling, Reverend Jane Orange, through my dad from Alabama. So my goal is to try to, we had someone, the VA came and take a look at the building, saying that we can get 24 people in there. So we want to try to go forward and turn this into a personal care home to be able to get best off the street.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, that ends the public comments.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
Next item is business rezoning, modification, and variance. Public hearing. Speakers will be granted up to a total of 10 minutes when speaking either for or against each case.
Go ahead.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. The item before you is a rezoning for property located at 8140 and 8160 Williams Road. The property is currently zoned AG1 and M2, has a split zoning. The applicant is asking to rezone the property to have one zoning, which will be M2 collectively. The property is surrounded by majority industrial properties. Thank you. The property is zoned majority around industrial properties, as you'll see on the drawing. There is M2 zonings surrounding the property. And identified in red, you'll see that the parcels are split by two zones, AG1 and M2. Even in Fairburn, those areas are zoned industrial as well. There is a single-family structure nearby, but those structures are vacant. So there is a total of 12.44 acres on the property. Currently, there's 2 vacant single-family homes with 2 accessory structures. The site is proposed to have 322 12 by 55 parking spaces for the sake of industrial parking. There will be 1 curb cut on Williams Road, and there is 1 MARTA stop that's 0.3 miles away. So this is the ingress road from McLaurin Road, existing single-family dwelling, you can see. I would like you to pay attention to the conditions of the road. there will be a condition where we're going to make note of that. So the site is currently split into two zonings I mentioned before, AG1, which is agricultural, and M2, which is heavy industrial. Property is or proposed to be used for additional shipping containers and truck trailer parking. As I mentioned before, the property is adjacent to other industrial manufacturing sites, which this area is transitioning very heavily into industrial. Those are some zonings that has not yet come before to have those changes made yet. Most of the property is on M2 mentioned again, and then the proposal aligns with the comprehensive plan, and it allows for there to be industrial use for that site. The Planning Commission recommended approval with 3 conditions. Pave and improve Williams Road for the standard detail 301, which is from the proposed entrance of McLaren Road, and then add a 5-foot sidewalk with 2 feet of grass strips along the frontage of Williams Road to connect to the sidewalks of McLaren Road per the standard detail of 308. And lastly, we're asking for them to dedicate 30 feet of right-of-way for the center line along the entire frontage of Williams Road. So those are the conditions that we are asking for. Staff also recommends approval of this item.
Okay, before we open up the public hearing, for the record, Madam Clerk, staff's recommendation is approved. And the second question is, does it fit our land use plan?
That is correct, sir, it does.
Those are 2 things I always be asking as we go forward, so for the public information. At this time, I'll open the public comment. I understand that you have 10 minutes, those who are for and those who are against, not 10 minutes apiece, 10 minutes for everybody. So those who are for will get on this side, and those who are against will get on this side. You're more than welcome to come up now. You for or against? I bet you for. All right. Okay, go right ahead, sir.
My name is Bill Byers with Tetra Tech. I represent the purchaser of the property, JB Hunt Transport Inc. And I believe that the presentation that you've received and the information you've been given is consistent. I can't elaborate much more. It is consistent with the overall area. This is really a little pocket area that remains agricultural, that is appropriately compatible with the adjacent M2 zoning, and I'm available to answer any questions that anyone has regarding the project if necessary.
So you're okay with all of the changes?
We have had extensive discussions about the conditions, and the owner accepts those conditions.
That's a yes.
That's a yes.
Okay. All right. Everybody's good? Go ahead.
I just have one question. I saw that this was for temporary storage of containers and trailers.
Correct.
And I was just wondering how long is temporary? What is the longest of any particular trailer container?
I'm not sure what the overall dwell time is. I'm not familiar with that part of the operation, but the trailers come in and out. It's a very similar operation to right around the corner is the BNSF yard that uses the trailer storage, and so it's really a storage area for the nearby intermodal facility where the trailers get stored there temporarily and they're in and out. But it's not long term, but they are used there for the cycle of the.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you very much, sir. No one again? I'm going to close the public hearing. Any comment? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve C-1801 in accordance with staff recommendation.
Been properly moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes unanimously. Okay. Thank you so much.
The next item is a resolution authorizing the city, no, I'm sorry. The next item is the financial report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This report I'm giving was for January, but we didn't have time and you requested that it be repeated. There will be another report that is for end of February, but this is for February. It's more of capital needs. So we talked about current situation. That's from January up to now, everything that is here has not changed. So preliminary 2018 audit is yet to come, but so far we know what is the outcome will be there, and we will be having a small shortfall of about $3 million. That's the audit that is about to come. The deficit loss of 2017, you know, we have a shortfall of fund balance about $6 million. And the 2019 revenue have to be modified down by $3 million because there is that insurance premium that Fulton County received is $5.6 million. They are not giving us our share of $3 million. So 2019 revenue is down by $3 million. The City of South Fulton does not have sufficient cash to fund all amended requests received so far. Those amendments that will come, adding up to $7.8 million. Because almost all of these ones are not in the 2019 budget, unless we find external or we refinance or we borrow money out of all those $7.8 million. But if we remove that, regardless of the $3 million that we are short for, we have enough money to take us up to the end of the fiscal year 2019 September. So this is the summary of 2018 actual was $50 million, that's on the revenue side. And 2017 actual is $11 million. And expenditure 2018, $54 million. 2017 expenses were $18 million. So net of 18 is about 8.3. And net of 17 was 6. This is fund balance. It's not to do with cash flow, it's fund balance that we had short for when we started. As you remember, we had to borrow money. So what we received was less than what we spent. Should we accommodate every capital project that we have? That's much of the summary of this chart. If we accommodate those ones, we will need to have to borrow $3.9 billion. If we can accommodate all the expenses that we are not budgeted in 2019 that are out of operations, we will need to borrow $3.9 billion. If we don't need those capital projects, we don't need to borrow a penny. But it depends on how important are those projects. How do we want to meet those capital projects? If we need them before September 30th, we will have to go and find $3.9 billion. And the projects are, these are the projects. As you see, we have pointed it out. We have police vehicles, those ones we are budgeted. Where I have highlighted here, like this one, we have Milk Miles Road, estimated at $500,000 for a year. It's a very important project that we have to, because the city has provided the same services, equivalent to the same services that the county was providing. With that, we need to find that. It's not in our budget, but we have to accommodate, we have to find because of the need of the service. Then we have public safety building design, which I think will be in the report that is to come. Again, this is a new need. Public safety will need a new building. For it to start, we will need $50,000 for the design of the public safety building. It's not in our budget 2019. If we need that, we have to accommodate during our budget amendment. Then we have fleet and facilities assessment, asset management design for $15,000. Again, it's not in our budget. We have, again, building and reconstruction, city hall or public safety, we will need about $1.8 million, depending on what type of the public safety we need or what type of city hall that we need. We will need about 1.8. If we are not taking those projects, we don't need to borrow that money. We don't need it. Then lastly is furniture. If we implement these buildings, we have talked about public safety, we will need about $100,000 for furniture. That will be the court chamber, then you will need the council chamber. Again, we will also need offices for the police. We will need about $100,000. If we don't build that or we don't have that building, we will not need to have this $100,000. It's not in our budget. So the total amount of needs in the capital projects were about $5.9 million. These were the CFO's recommendation, and these are my recommendations. SET should work towards reducing deficit fund balance and then start accumulating fund balance. We don't have fund balance now. We are in negative. We are minus. The city ordinance prohibits borrowing to finance operations. That any borrowing should be done only for capital projects or in case of emergency. That's the need of having rainy day funds, or that's the need of having fund balance, or that's the need of having contingency. We don't have contingency. We budgeted contingency only about $100,000. We committed $20,000. We have only $80,000 in contingency that we can use at any time we need, which is way, way less than 0.5% of our spending budget. Recommend that only essential capital items be funded in 2019 budget amendments, which will be on the 23rd of April next month. And all operational requests be funded through 2019 budget transfer or postponed up to 2020. Our 2020 budget will be starting next month. So it's either we postpone some other expenses, transfer those money to capital projects that we desperately need, or postpone it to 2020 budget.
Are you paying, sir?
No, that was the redoing of the 20 January report. So there is a report for February.
Did we lose the video? Are we losing video here, sir?
He's trying to get it up.
If I may entertain if there's any question out of what I've already stated, where we are waiting for that.
Well, Mr. Khalid, I don't know, is it the question came what he's already said?
Yes, but I think it would be really instructive for everyone involved to have that. I'd like to go back to your last slide about the capital expenditure details. If we can do that.
It was up there. I got it now.
The internet. Yes, there it is. Could you go back to that one slide, please? Yes, right there. That would be great. So,
do you make it bigger?
Yes, sir. All right. I'm gonna start from the bottom and work up. The equipment acquisition, there's like $982,000. That's almost $1 million. What is the loader and the extricate equipment?
Those ones were for public works.
Okay, so my question is, we pay a lot of money to Jacobs every month.
We pay $516,000 a month.
Right, we pay $500,000 a month.
That's
But
correct.
I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. City Manager, but I thought one of the reasons that we went with Jacobs is because they had their own stuff, and we weren't gonna have to buy stuff. So I'm just confused about that.
So I think we only pay Jacobs for the transportation-related activities. You still have general services activities under Public Works. So I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly which item you're talking about, but that's one thing is that you wouldn't, Jacobs is not the end-all, be-all to public work-related expenses.
And all of these things that we're buying, they will be ours.
Yes.
We'll keep them, do we have a place to store them?
To my knowledge, yes.
The loader on it shouldn't be there because the interest moved it to. We were to use to buy that, but we moved the money to Jacobs.
Okay, moving up to the next item, the $1.8 million for City Hall / public safety. Is that for the building on Old National?
As of now, you have not yet decided you are building a City Hall. So that's the money that is to be to accommodate public safety building.
Okay, and
if you are going to build the City Hall, I would not recommend you to borrow money in this way because that would mean we are using cash to build the City Hall. You can't use cash to build a house. We will have to borrow it for a longer period, maybe 20 years or 30 years.
Okay, I think there's a little confusion.
Yeah, I don't think we're 100% representing all of those costs. So that 1.8 million, I think staff was tasked with just providing various items that we need to consider for the mid-year budget modification. One of the items that came forth is a temporary city hall. I think we discussed an item that came to us in executive session before. Since that time, council has identified that that's not something we be taking on in FY19, so that is not a consideration. I think he's just given a summary of all of the potential things, but that would be stricken.
So if we were to take that out or dramatically reduce it, because I'm assuming that we wouldn't even need all of that this budget year, would that free up money for some of these places that are in the red?
So 1.8, we cannot completely remove it because to have public safety on the Old National, we need something. So we need, it may be 1.4, it may be 1.2.
Okay, I just think that might affect our bottom line in some other places, so maybe we just need to revise that number. The GDOT match and the LMIG match, neither of those cover the sidewalk completion down Old National, and I'm just wondering.
We have the public safety director here, he can use, I hope he is here.
I just want to make sure that we pay for that, because I know we went back and forth with Fulton County about who was going to pay to finish those sidewalks.
And that's one area, again, I think he may want to touch on that one. We may not spend the whole of the allocations because those projects may not finish in this fiscal year.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. With regards to GDOT match, $80,000, if I'm not mistaken, that was allocated for right-of-way acquisition that we committed for a bridge that Georgia DOT was going to do. And it'll make 20% grant for $560,000, and it's for the 30% match for it'll make for 2019.
All right, so I want to make sure, because we have all of these asks on here, I just want to make sure we have taken care of our sidewalks, that issue is resolved. If there's any money that we need to pay to finish the sidewalks on Old National, I just want to see it in this list of capital budgets. And I'm going to yield to Councilman Baker.
If I could respond to your question, the funds allocated are directly for LMIG funds for the 30% match. It's not 20% match, 30% match, and the other one's committed funds, $80,000. The funds that you're requesting is the match for the second phase of Old National Highway, which has federal funds and requires an 80-20% match for the right-of-way, utilities, and construction.
So what is the cost of that, and has that bill been paid? That's what I'm really asking.
It was not resolved. We have funding issues to resolve with Fulton County. The design of the project is almost final, it's in the final stage, but we are in need to complete the design, to start the rights of acquisition and the other phases. So we'll have to get up front the estimated cost to continue with the current phases.
So I'm gonna yield to my Mayor Pro Tem, but I would like to just see that included on the list until we know that it's being paid some other way. I want to make sure that we're including it in our budget.
So I think just for note, council members, we'll be sending Fulton County a note regarding this tomorrow, an official letter requesting them to pay for this item. Before you include it in the city's budget though, that is the responsibility of Fulton County. They have received federal funding, they've allocated the funds, and we believe from our communications that they're willing to do so. They just want the notice from us. I'll personally be providing that in the morning, but I will tell you, I don't think it's a great practice to insert funding into our budget considerations that they are on the hook and rightfully responsible to pay for. I would just kind of highlight that.
And Mr. Khalid, it's not the only budget either.
Yeah, there are a couple of
It's all right in that.
Right. So thank you, Councilman Khalid. So my concern actually is twofold, partly to you. Last time they came before us, they advised that the design phase would be complete by 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So do you know, so that could be after this, when they said 2019 for the design phase, they're not taking into account our budget year, meaning FY19. They mean the whole year. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, the second part of that question, Mr. Donald, to you is, I had several constituents who have been concerned about these sidewalks on Old National for several years, and they contend that these sidewalks should be fully funded, and we should be responsible for that 20%. I know, Mr. Venezuela, when you worked for Fulton County, I used to say the same thing directly to you. But now that you work for us, it's important that you understand my position, and we take that back. The position is, this was a federal project that was fully funded prior to us becoming a city. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do with those funds, they would be, actually, they have to respond to the federal government, because they took that money. You understand what I'm saying? They took that money to do those funds, and they should be fully funded. And if there is a different or alternative explanation of that, please just say it for the record for the people who might be watching this.
So no, I sent you guys a memo about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, specifically about this, and it highlights all of those details. We believe that the county is required to carry these out. The match has already been encumbered and appropriated by them, and the money from the feds has been allocated. And so we believe that they should provide that. I think in my notice, I think I noted to you on the other issues that we've been negotiating with the county for, we did not include those in there. And so we sent a separate notification, but we 100% agree with that. I think that was my point to Councilmember Khalid, is that those things have been allocated and encumbered, and this is a federal project, and so we would not be the people liable, they would be, and so we're compelling them to take this on, not only for the sidewalk, which I know, that's your district and you're concerned about, but it's multiple transportation projects, correct, Mr. Valenzuela?
Right.
It's more than just that.
And with that being said, thank you. I just wanted to, for the record, this is a big issue on our end, but I just want the communication to appropriately go from what you're saying to our CFO, because if he's showing that split, that 80-20 split in our numbers, our public is going to think that, okay, we're even behind further than we should be.
Right. If I might clarify something that you stated, just for the records, Fulton County doesn't hold the federal funds. All the projects that will lead to whatever phase it is upon reimbursement. So Fulton County or the city will have to upfront 100% of a particular phase and then request reimbursements of 80% of that phase. Okay. So let's ensure that we don't mix that. Thank you.
Thank you. Watching my clock here. So moving on up, I see that there's about $250,000 for police vehicles, but then I see another $500,000 for various department vehicles. Do you have any detail about what those are?
So there's $225,000 allocated for police vehicles.
No, I get that, but what are these other vehicles?
These are 7 vehicles will be for public safety, and those vehicles are not yet to be bought. They have been put on hold. The city manager have put a hold on those ones. So that money is still there, $125,000 for those vehicles. They were supposed to be for public safety and the public use for the city hall, but they are on hold. So we have $165,000.
Okay, yeah, just whatever they are, I would like to see a little detail on. And then lastly, save the worst for last. Merc Miles, this is more of a comment, and then, you know, our council can talk it out, but I'm not sure why we are keeping that facility open and why we're paying like $500,000 or however much it's going to cost. Because at this point, everyone in the city is supposed to have their own trash service. So I don't understand, like, we did this whole contract. Like, I don't understand why we're paying to keep that building open. What are people taking there that they can't get collected? And I don't know, maybe we need to look at that sanitation contract, but I just don't understand why we're spending all of this money to keep this facility open if everyone is supposed to get trash picked up at their house.
I would defer that. Mr. Donald, do you have any comment before I say anything into it?
Well, no, I'll tell you, I think what we have heard from residents and what we believe we've heard from council is that this is a service that we want to continue. And so as such, we have made preparations to be able to do so. So now that $500,000, I believe that's what Mr. Malazi has identified in the budget as the cost that would be available through the modification. I believe that Mr. Valenzuela, as you've seen through the documents you have in your packet, it will be much less than that for this year, and our model would be much different than Fulton County's. So instead of running Merc Miles at a deficit, we believe that at a minimum it will run at even and potentially might be able to be revenue generating. But remember, our model is much different than that of Fulton County. So our effort is to be able to take it on as of April 1st, whereas the county will stop making those services available on March 31st. And so that is simply following what we believe has been the will of the council as well as the outcry of the public. But I'll tell you, if you believe that this service is not needed and that trash delivery services that we put in place is the right answer, I think we would support that and move forward accordingly.
Now, Mr. Khalid, let me add to that. You're talking about bulk waste being done by individual vendors. It's only a portion that you can put out. And a lot of people have much more than that. And so they can actually take 2-3 truckloads and go to Merc Road and dispose of it.
I guess I just wonder, at the cost of $500,000 or $250,000, whatever it is there a more cost-efficient solution? It sounds like people are interested in us redoing our citywide sanitation contract. I'm wondering if, for example, we could ask as a requirement of the contract whoever our citywide vendor is to have their own bulk collection days. Let's say where they do amnesty days now. If it's $250,000 or $500,000, I know a lot of people have come to this podium and they've talked about how expensive the sanitation service is. So maybe we could use that money to subsidize an income-based sanitation program. I mean, I don't know if we just need to keep a whole facility open if all we're doing is collecting bulk trash.
Or Mr. Khalid, I don't know if you've seen some of the bulk waste you had, but I don't think any sanitation company is going to come in and while you clean out your garage and you ask for them to pick it up. So there's a need that we have to supplement that some kind of way, and I think Merc Road is the way to do it. And the fact is, you know, we always listen to our constituents. We always talk about listening to our constituents. And our constituents have said on many occasions, keep it open, keep it open, keep it open.
Right, I mean, our constituents said that. I don't know if they knew it was a $500,000 bill, but so when, just as a point of clarification, when I know Latham does the bulk collection day in my area, when they collect all of their bulk waste, are they taking it to Merc Miles? Or are they taking it somewhere else?
Merc Miles is not a landfill. It's a transfer.
Okay.
So they got to take it there. Okay, I think Ms. Rao was next.
A couple of questions. Mr. Malaza, you talked about the public safety building. I want to know if we looked at acquisition and have we looked at that option, because the price just in making improvements in that one building, I don't know if we've explored that, so that's the question. And then based on the capital improvements, and I understand what our policy said in terms of what we adopted, have you looked at any scenario where we would be looking at borrowing specific to the capital improvement and what we could, how much debt we could reasonably have to address those that deal with public safety? Because we've heard this from a number of facilities we've inherited, and I just don't know that it's a good practice that we not address those. So have you looked at any of those scenarios? And then thirdly, how much funding is projected and available for unspent budgeted items?
So I think I sent to you to itemize the things that we budgeted capital budget, and the money that was transferred from capital to fund Jacobs, and what has remained, and the remaining are those things that we have itemized to say we will save about $100,000 in the police vehicle. We budgeted for $225,000 from October through September. The police vehicles are not coming until April. We are leasing them. So we are spending half of what we budgeted for. Right. So you have $100,000 in PD. Whether that money will be reallocated in the department comes the budget amendment is spread out wherever it's needed. It's no longer the only for police.
So that's one area. I'm talking about an entire budget for the city. How much money do we have available for unspent budgeted items? And also, I'm very curious about this preliminary fiscal year 2018 result, because we're comparing to 2017, where I would actually like to see our actual compared to budgeted, and it's not reflected.
Yeah. So on the other side, let me finish on the capital. Then you have those vehicles we have talked about. That's $165,000 there. Then you have $560,000 that we have budgeted for the GDOT plus the one that the public safety director was talking about. It's going to be implemented in 2019. However, it's very doubtful that it will be done by September. So if it's not to be done by September, October, November, that's 2020. And that's almost half of that money would be there.
Exactly my point. Excuse me. Exactly my point. That kind of analysis needs to be presented to council so we are clear. Because this sounds very grave, but the timing of some of these expenditures may not hit during this fiscal year. And so as I sit up here, I'm very confused about these numbers rather than when they're going to actually hit.
So that one cannot come, it has to come during budget amendment, because we have to sit on it with each and every department head, because they are responsible for their budgets. Some of the expenses, they come at the beginning of the fiscal year. Some they are coming now, some they are coming at the end. I may see there's money there, but they may be spending. Capital projects, I know. I just have to sit down with him. He confirms it. It will be added in budget amendments.
So you have not sat down with the department heads relative to their expenditures and what they
We sit down with them every month, and all they say, we are going to use our money, we are going to use. Every month we sit down with them. So you may see, you have the detailed report on expenditures, and you can see each and every department, what they was appropriated, right, what they have spent, what's the balance, what's the percentage. You see they are there, from salaries up to operations. And everyone, we sit them every month, they say they are going to spend.
Okay, so we're about to go into mid-year.
Mid-year, it moves from them. Now it comes to me that we will have to move money from every department that they have not used. It goes into budget amendment and it will come before you.
All I'm just going to say, from city manager, between
the city manager, and the CFO, I need y'all to present this in a way that's clear for the council to understand when these expenditures are gonna hit, and those department heads need to be able to talk about where we are from now to September 30th. This is not helpful, and I'll deal with a lot of budgets.
Actually, we had a meeting on Monday, we are discussing about those. If you have
This
any,
coming Monday?
this last Monday with the department heads.
Yes.
Yesterday we had a discussions on that, depending, talking about what will happen to the budget amendments. So if they have not utilized, there is no justification, there is still money there, we will move that money.
Yeah, and when we get city manager, and I know this is really with you, when are we going to begin the mid-year budget process and looking at it with real numbers?
So the budget, I will have the budget, for me, I'll be start reviewing the budget amendment on the 29th, 30th of March. Then I'll have maybe the first week of April, I may send it, sit down with the city manager, go through before it comes to you. So you have at least 2 weeks before the 23rd of April when it will be officially presented to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a presentation that y'all kind of worked on together, and I would ask that particularly for the capital improvements items that deal with public safety issues, that you look at that relative to how much borrowing that you think we could manage to address those things that deal with public safety.
So still it remains, unless something comes up, but still the recommendation if we're going to borrow is up to $4 million. It covers all what was itemized.
That's worst case scenario. Right?
That's worst, yeah. That's
so I want to understand it versus actual, like real numbers and plans. Thank you.
Mr. Malazi, now, the city manager earlier today talked about bases and who should be on what base. Now, I'm on a CFO base, okay? And I just don't understand, because I asked last week for budgeted items and expense items that had not been expensed. And I understand you have to do true-ups, but at any given time, as a CFO, we should be able to come to you and say, as of this day, what has been budgeted and what has been expensed. That's Finance 101.
So I gave that information you have. I gave that information 1 week in advance so you can see, as she has said, I gave it in departments. Departments are still using them. They're still expending them. You have what was budgeted, what they have spent, every department, and what's the balance. The thing that I can say clearly would be capital projects, because most of those ones, they are there. If they haven't done now, they may not do it. If I hear from the public safety that we may not spend this $560,000, then I can say, yes, we cannot spend it, but don't take it all. At least there's $300,000 that we may use it. But for the departments, until they say they are not using it, up to the mid-year.
Okay, so a year ago, I talked to you about capital projects and capital financing. And so I have yet to see a plan for capital financing to handle capital projects.
So what we did last year was we went to every department. They gave their wish list, but we didn't have enough funding. And we were yet to go about the paying off of what we had. So we paid off. Now what we have is where we are talking about long-term funding, not the TAN. We need to do, it will be on my report, at the end of the report that I'm going to show you.
Okay, so I'm not talking about the TAN, tax anticipation note for the purpose of the public, which is a short-term loan with anticipation of receiving taxes. I'm talking about long-term finance. I have yet to see a plan for that, because some of these projects are going to require capital financing, long-term borrowing. I am not there for the public to be told we paid off all of our TAN and we don't owe any debt, and we are going to have to borrow as a city. So I don't want anybody to get that misconception. It's a good thing for us to be able to borrow and pay our bills and pay the money back. There's no government who does not borrow.
I'm 100% with you. Last presentation of my report, 26 February, I was with my financial advisor, Mr. Ed Wall, here. But as you know, I didn't even bring him to present. We didn't even talk about it. I talk with him all the time. I was talking with him yesterday. He was at the City Hall yesterday. Next time I'll bring him again to talk about the long term. That is on my report. At the end of my report, I have suggested of having to borrow for a long term. That can meet all these ones. But remember, borrowing that long term will make us to put aside a cent or a cent and a half of tax to fund those ones.
Okay, the last thing, work miles, I have to agree with my colleague.
Yes.
That is a want. That is want. That's a want. That is not a must-have. That is not something that we have to provide that's mandated by the law. We're mandated by the law to provide sanitation service. Now, I'm in agreement, and the mayor and I are co-sponsoring the sanitation ordinance, so I need people to come and support it. We're bringing it back for the RFP to be put back on the street so that we can, solicit a single sanitation provider to make the price comparable or affordable for the entire city, not just for certain subdivisions. And it will include all-inclusive services. But the Merck miles, if we can't afford it right now, that's something that we're going to have to reconsider. I want it too. But if it's something that we can't afford, we have to look at our priorities. And I think public safety was one, I think parks was one, and Merck miles does not come before all of that.
So you are right. That's why I asked Mr. Manager to comment, because it's on our discussion that we are discussing. Yesterday, actually, the city manager was saying, okay, instead of starting 1st of April, why don't we give 1 month and see it? So if you just direct the city manager to say, okay, we need a break of 2 months, or we don't need it, he is okay, because we discuss it on the table. Just direct to say, we don't need these services, then we are not going to start April the 1st.
Well, I'm okay with explaining to my residents in District 3 that we cannot afford Merck miles because we need to make sure we put our investment in police, parks, and other things that they tell me they want as a priority. So if Merck miles is driving us in a deficit, then we may need to, as a council, reconsider that.
So can we have a voice maybe from you that whatever we are doing during the budget amendment, that 560,000 should not even feature into that, so we can use that money for other services?
Okay. All right. No. Mr. Baker?
No, it's Gumbs.
I yield, but
Okay, Ms. Gumbs, my computer, this saying totally different.
actually, I was in the queue. Khalid
I
yielded
thought-
to me, but I still was in the queue.
I thought you were.
I was.
Yeah, well, Ms. Gumbs, let me go to Mr. Baker and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead.
I reserve my comments for executive session on real estate.
Okay, good. Go right in.
I just can't remember. Was there a study or anything done that shows whether or not we can financially afford Merck miles? Did we kind of show the numbers of how much everything will cost, and if we can afford this? Anybody?
There was nothing Fulton County told us to say we are stopping operating come April 1. If the state of South Fulton is interested to continue, we are stopping. So the only thing that has been done to improve there, it will cost us less than what Fulton County was operating, and I will defer that to the Public Works Director, because that project is under Public Works.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion, ma'am?
Yes, you can.
You have an item for discussion, and item D, item D, action item is actually I. So at that point, we can discuss the Merck miles. I have all the information for you.
I think I have an additional suggestion. I think the Merck miles conversation clearly falls under real estate. I think there's some nuances related to it, and I think some of these answers would be very simple if we could discuss them in the parameters of executive session. So what I would recommend is that when we get to the Merck Miles discussion, we field those questions and some of those nuanced insights that I believe you want, address them in executive session, and then allow you to be able to take action if you deem appropriate once we return.
All right, I agree with that. Okay,
I tend to look at the budget very conservatively, and in doing so, and listening to your presentations when you come to the mic and you tell us the revenue and the expenses don't match up. That's a given. That at the end of 2018, our fund balance was in the deficit, which means that we don't have a cushion. And we further don't have one with the contingency, not much of one. And so when you use that as a backdrop and compare it with all of the needs that we have, and then some of them are not so much needs as they are emergencies and things that we absolutely must take care of. So now we're juggling. Okay? So as we juggle and we find out that this budget is not going to get it, then the next comment is about borrowing money. And so when you borrow money, you have to pay it back. Okay? And so, now you got something else, like a third or fourth thing to juggle. And so we're at a point right now where we haven't gotten to the 6-month period when we're supposed to look at everything and where we have savings. That's where we really, really look for the savings after we get to the 6-month period, which is supposed to give us some clear indication of how to move forward in the next 6 months and what could possibly be left for us to take care of some of those things on this long growing list of to-dos that we have. And so I can't wait until we get to that point. And usually after year end, not year end, month end, usually 15 days later, and that's sort of like a max, that's when we start getting the reports for the prior month and then year to date. And so I think that perhaps by the April meeting, I don't know if it'll be the first or the second meeting of April, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going. I know that some of the items in our packet are not budgeted, and they're not even on the list, they're on the wish list. And so at some point in time, I think we as a council are going to have the discussion, have the discussion of what can we really afford that is absolutely necessary and what can't be, and what we can possibly delay until later. So I just wanted to say that to make it a little clearer, and then I want to go back to when we paid off our tax allocation note. We had to pay it off by the end of the month anyway. We were just able to pay it off 2 weeks early, but it had to be paid no matter what. So I just wanted to say that so it would be real clear there.
all right, Mr. Yeah, Mr. Khalid is your secretary.
Thank you. Ms. Good. There's a brilliant set of questions I have. One of the reasons I started asking these questions, I was thinking that this capital expense budget was a wish list from all of the departments in advance of the mid-year budget modification.
That's correct.
Is that a correct?
That's correct. The only department that I'm not there, I don't expect much. The departments that are missing there is human resources, finance, and IT.
Okay.
But almost all support service providing services are included in there.
And so a month ago, we had a discussion about, February 26th meeting, we had a discussion about mold. And is, and we never actually voted on a resolution, is that included in this buildings and buildings improvements? Is that on this list?
It's not included in there. So what will happen there, it will be a priority. Where do you want to move money to? I have given you some areas where there are those savings. If those savings, we can say, let's delay these services. Then you have money enough for modes as well as for parks and recreation.
So it's not a list. So my question is, the mid-year budget review happens in April, which is in 7 days.
It will be presented 23rd of April, but you have that at least a minimum of the week before.
So my first question is, it sounds like everything is not on here, and these are just capital
projects. Yes.
These are capital wishes. Other people may have programmatic wishes or staffing wishes.
Staff, that's true.
So my question is, when is the deadline for people to submit?
They already submitted. They already submitted yesterday. We are saying, in case you forgot something that you want to reduce or you want to add, please bring it.
So again, how long do people have to bring that?
We gave them up to Thursday, this end of the week, Thursday or Friday this week.
Thursday or Friday of this week?
Correct.
Okay. And I would just, not to be redundant, but just so that we're clear, at the April 23rd meeting, it would be nice to have like an exhaustive list of all the things that people are trying to add into the budget, and how much, and make sure that that list is just what the cost is for the next 6 months. So if someone wants to add a new position, we only need to pay the 6 months of their salary. And so I'm just, and the last one, this is a salary thing, there was some back and forth, so I just want to get one time on the record, our legislative specialists, have they been budgeted for the next 6 months, or is that something that we'll need to be looking for money?
You don't need to, that will be taken care of budget amendment.
That's already done.
Take care of what?
It will be in the budget amendment.
So it's not there now, but it's going to be in the budget amendment.
Since you adopted the budget, we have never changed it, so it will be added into the budget amendment, the last 6 months.
So I just want to be clear, so everyone on council heard that it's not there now, but they're going to add it in.
If you see, you go into a budget, you find out that it's not that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let me just say a few things. You know, Mr. Malazi, sometimes things get a little confusing. And let me tell you how simple I think it is. When you come up and say something's not budgeted, it's not necessarily all the way true. All right? Because what we're trying to get you to see is, I'm sitting on almost $6 million of unspent budgeted items. So what I've been looking for, and under normal circumstances, a county manager and a CFO come together, city manager, I'm sorry, and they look at that expenditure that you're talking about and start to adjust to find out how can we pay for some of the things that we talked about. It is, to me, is just that simple. Now let me say this to you. I would spend none of that $5.9 million on these things that they're on to now. Mr. Malazi, this government is no different than any government that we have. Y'all should have borrowed this money a long time ago. And not touch. Not have to touch this. And we would have been straight. I was listening to the mayor of College Park a week ago at the Alliance meeting. He said to this people, he had a $20 million surplus. You know why he had $20 million surplus? Because he had $22 million worth of debt. You think he got all them hotels and stuff over there that he's got over there because he didn't borrow money? He borrowed money. Sandy Springs, Johns Creek, everybody does it. When we paid that tan off, we should have been borrowing money within 30 days of paying that tan off. See, I don't come, you know, my whole political career doesn't come from stuff like this. I come from when you have managers or chief administrators being able to talk to finance people to get things done. That's how it's supposed to work. Even last meeting, we had this back and forth discussion between you and Odie about this and that. It doesn't work like that, y'all. These are the two most important people you're going to have when it comes to taking care of your business. And it's got to stop. You got to get on board with everybody, and we got to make some decisions for not us, but for them. So I hear the rhetoric all the time. Well, you know, I got this and that and that and this. Well, we heard that. The issue, what we want to find out, how you going to use that to get us where we want to go. And I don't think we need to hear this rhetoric no more.
So I tell you, Mayor, I think that we are all working together to make sure we're bringing the city forward financially and operationally as well. I think Mr. Malazi has done a unanimous job to make sure that our debt position is one that we can easily borrow in the future. I think council's feedback is very valuable regarding what we need to do moving forward. And I think given the process that Mr. Malazi has put together, where we'll evaluate what type of things internally we can and cannot get done, the next meeting will be a great opportunity for us to bring back something more tangible for the council well in advance of our April 23rd budget modification meeting, which you've asked for.
But Mr. Mann, you do understand what I'm saying?
I do, yes, sir.
I mean, I'm just talking about, you know, Mr. Baker always talk about optics and things of that nature. But I'm just saying that we need to come together and look like we know that we have two important departments that are working together to make sure that we give the needs of the people who pay the taxes in this city. That's all I'm saying.
We 100% agree. I think we met on those items today. We also met Friday, and we really tried to accelerate this process to get the council all of the information that you need in advance of that next meeting. I think we're talking about it today. We'll be even more prepared at the next meeting to make sure you have everything you need. I do believe, though, it would be helpful to get some specific guidance from the council on some of the items that you definitely want to see, or what might be, you know, some gray area. Merck Miles is one that I think is a big ticket item, but I would also want you to know that 1.8 million was specifically about a facility that we had talked about previously, that it was on the wish list but has been removed. So those two items add up to about 2.3 million, which I think changes our perspective quite a bit. So I just want to highlight it is not as gloom and doom as if we don't consider that. You know, that's a big difference when you say you're 3 million in the red, but yet 2.3 million is removed immediately. It's not actually a bad position, because internally, some of the things we're already holding, including those vehicles, I mean, there are a few things. I don't think we're in a bad position. We just need to give you some more clear information, and we're working together to do that.
And for me to close out, I think you're absolutely saying what I'm saying, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir.
But we have capital issues. And I don't feel like we can continue to go forward putting a Band-Aid on the cancer. I think that we need to resolve our capital issues. And to resolve our capital issues means that we got to borrow capital. Okay? When I look at my police department and see the things they need, because I physically was on site to see it, those things have to be taken care of, because everybody wants to be safe in this community. And we have to get the money to make sure that people are safe. And you can quote all the crime statistics you want, but if you ain't safe, you don't feel safe within your body and how you feel, then you're not safe. And I think that we can get people there, but we can't piecemeal these kinds of things. We have to make sure that we got fire engines coming in, but just as fast as the fire engines coming in, we better be ordering 3 more fire engines. We need more police cars. So these are capital things that I think, Mr. Manager, that we have to home in on and get done immediately.
Mayor, you have also to remember that growing is we have to work in confinement of what we can afford.
That's your job.
It's my job, yes. But you adopted the restorations ordinances that I have to follow, that you don't have to borrow for operating expenses.
I said capital. I didn't say operating.
It's in my report that is to come about. I've covered. All what you are talking is in my report that you have not yet seen.
We're talking capital. We're talking about facilities and things of that nature. Nothing administrative. Go ahead, Mrs. I can't see that far.
You asked, it was me, you asked to give you all guidance.
It's Rob.
Well, did you have you already spoken?
Well, I think I have a question. We've talked about this public safety, which was is there some new status update? Yeah. Because it sounds like there's been some change.
I believe that.
That's what I'm trying to ask.
I believe that
that's
he did say.
Oh, that's what he wants to know.
I mean, Mr. Malazi did give a statement about 1.2 of it going down because the city hall number is in there, as well as the public safety number is in there. It's all included into the 1.8. I think, am I correct, Mr. Manager?
Well, no, I'm sorry, those are two separate items. I just remind you that we were approached about a potential facility that we talked about.
So you want to cover this in exec session?
Absolutely.
Right, but I think that
but they're separate
the concerns are going to arise if we don't clear up.
Yeah, so we can clear this up. The 1.8 million is not related to that public safety facility. Remember, the public safety facility that you guys approved was within budget. I believe we have a total of all of those fees around 18,000. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it in front of me. But what we did, I think it's around 18,000. We have a portion of the facility that the facility owner would be utilizing to bring into a box, and then the balance we would have to provide. We have to identify the amount of funding that we would utilize to take it from a white box to an actual facility that we would utilize. The amount of that money has not been determined, but we know it would not be 1.8 million. So that 1.8 million was for a specific facility that we have since taken off the table, and so those funds in no way, shape, or form impact the public safety facilities.
Excuse me, with respect, I think Mr. Malazi thinks otherwise when it comes to it being budgeted, however.
Public safety building construction, there is no money in 2019 for public safety building.
That's correct.
It's not budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's either we take from other capital or we borrow money for public safety.
Okay.
It's not there, or if we take from that 1.8 that is in there. So you either go for the public safety building, you get from there, but it's not in 2019 budget.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we reserve the rest of this conversation regarding real estate to executive session.
Well, let me remind you.
You can't do that. I'm next.
Hold up.
You can't go out of order. You can call up a tariff. Jesus don't call for that.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold up. Let me just say this to you guys. We have less than an hour to be in this building. So we need to really move as quickly as possible. If you're saying that we're discussing something that needs to be discussed in executive session, I would refer to the attorney.
Yeah, I mean, as far as acquisition or any interest, I mean, I do agree that is better reserved for executive session.
I'll second that motion. No, it's not a motion. So just agree that we're discuss it like that.
So no more conversation.
Right. Okay.
You asked us to give you guidance. I'm asking by the time we have this budget amendment, before we have the budget amendment conversation on April 23rd, can you please provide to this council all budgeted items and all items that have not been expended?
Sure. All right. Now comes Mr. Jackson, I think.
Yeah. I'm going back to city manager. You made the building, the city hall, public safety building, you said that this amount had went down, you went from one building to another. Can you tell me what we're talking about?
I think that's a real estate item. I
We
would.
need to go to executive session.
We have less than an hour.
Come on.
I think the conversation is extremely simple. If it's the will of the council, I believe we could knock this out in executive session in 15 minutes.
Okay.
Stick to
Well,
it.
we got other things on that. We need to
Understood.
move
I just
other
want to,
things now.
whenever you get to it, man.
Okay. So, are you finished?
February report is not yet in.
Okay. Let's hold it. We can bring it back.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, let's go.
The next item is the item that was pulled, request council approval to authorize the city manager to enter into an architectural service agreement with S&P Design Construction.
I move that we approve resolution for T-Splosh assumption.
No,
I'm sorry.
It's item G on the front page.
I move that we approve S&P Design Construction AGR 2019-007.
Is there a second?
Second.
Probably move the second discussion.
I have a couple of comments. The first one is that $50,000 is not budgeted. That's on the unbudgeted list. That's number one. Then in looking at the contract or proposed contract, it says additional services can be requested in writing. So that's very open-ended. And then the next part is the process that could be on page 33. Just give me a second. That was under additional services. So my concern is that it's not budgeted and we're approving it, and additional services should be requested in writing. And I think that's too open.
Ms. Balance, swear down.
Yes, ma'am, you stand correct. The item was not budgeted, and it's a request for schematic design services. It is a way how to assess what you want to see in the future building for the city of South Fulton. $50,000 will perhaps give you an alternative of what you're looking for down the road. The dollar amounts that you'll be approving, it will be an initial cost when it comes to design of the actual facility. That will be related to the cost of the facility.
I know all of that, and my concern is, where's the $50,000 coming from, since it's not budgeted, and then I'm not comfortable with the sentence in there about additional services that says it can be performed when the client requests it in writing. So under it, there are some items that could be big ticket items. So that's kind of open-ended to just be able to request it in writing and to move forward with getting additional services. Those are my two issues.
I think you're talking, you should get to something that we're saying upon approval.
Yes.
Okay, something, I think that's what.
But approval sounds good, but where's the money coming
Yeah,
from?
we'll get that at. Go ahead.
So that first piece, you already answered the piece about the agreement. Remember, that's not the final agreement. The attorney will always make it true to form and make those edits or whatnot.
Right.
The second piece on the actual funding, under the guidance of the CFO, the staff realigned some of the funding from other line items. And so Mr. Malazi can speak to that, because they definitely, I mean, we work with the CFO's office to make sure that it is coordinated appropriately. So I would defer to him on
You come in very quickly and tell us what money comes in.
So we have in professional services for public works that they have enough money in that line, they can get that while pending for budget amendment.
So could you, Madam Attorney, would you, at your request, change that that language to say upon approval?
Yes, certainly I can get with Councilwoman Gilliard after the fact too. The authorization tonight is just requesting us to create, and we have a professional service template that we use with purchasing. So we'll adhere to that and then we'll modify it subject to.
I think that's something change we need to.
Yeah, absolutely, Mayor.
All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is
The next item is item H, council approval to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the city of South Fulton and BAE Urban Economics.
I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The proper move second discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Steve. I had one thing to do. I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, just go ahead.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
So, I just have a few questions.
Sure.
How many people or applicants responded to this RFP?
We had 9 respondents to the RFP.
Okay, was there any preference for local participation?
So the procurement manager would need to speak to that. He formulates the math related to that and verifies if they're local, but there is a preference given in the ordinance that speaks to that. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if any local firms
The
were?
procurement manager certifies that, so that wasn't shared with us.
The company that was selected is based out of California, and they are going to be developing an economic strategic plan. Is that what it's called?
Well, they have firms all over the country, so
Okay.
it's headquartered, but they have a firm here on the East Coast that's less than a 2-hour flight.
So do they have one, but they don't have one in Atlanta,
They do not have one, but our project manager will be based out of DC.
based out of DC? And what is the anticipated timeline for the completion of this plan?
We're projecting 6 to 8 months from the time we actually physically start, which is pretty standard for that type of plan. I will also say that they have done a lot of work in the state of Georgia. They actually did a plan for MARTA recently, and they've done some other projects related to the Beltline. So they're familiar. The actual principal of the company is from Metro Atlanta, so they're pretty familiar with this part of the country.
You're part of the, okay, I get part of the country, but what about South Florida?
Well, it's a new city, so they weren't here.
Okay. All right. I think you can answer my question.
All right, let's get y'all, go ahead, Mr. Khalid. I'm not sure if you Ms. Gilliard, go ahead.
I have several questions, and it starts out with, I'm not understanding how we do an economic development plan, and we don't have the strategic plan yet. And the strategic plan, our city's strategic plan is supposed to be the overarching plan, and everything needs to fit into it. And we don't have that yet. So I'm wondering when we're going to have that, what the next step is as it relates to that, and how we're going to jump in front of that with an economic development plan when we don't even have the strategy for the whole city. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, where is the money? Where the money is budgeted for it, and the target beginning date. So only one of those three you can answer.
Only one of those three.
The strategic plan part.
So I can't speak to when the strategic plan is going to be completed. That is not being managed by my office. But we are aware of the plan. We intentionally made sure the strategic plan started first. So by the time we get revved up to actually do the parts that we need to include the strategic plan, we will have that document. So we are very aware that the timing and scheduling of the economic development plan will coincide with completion of the strategic plan. We just didn't want to wait a whole another calendar year, and so we're waiting 6-8 months to begin the economic development plan, since we know that's a priority of the council. The second part of the question, this is actually a budgeted expense for economic development. We did put this in our FY19 budget, which is in professional services.
I didn't see a dollar amount.
There's $500-something thousand for professional services. Part of that is the Charles Abbott contract, and the other part is for the strategic plan.
So I I saw $75,000 under professional services.
For economic development? We checked that.
I think this was actually budgeted at $100,000. It came in about $20,000 less than what it was budgeted for, at around $80,000. And I think that's a part of why when they did their qualifications and review through the procurement process, that's one of the factors that actually landed this firm as the final group.
Just bear with me a couple more, and I'll say it real quick. What's the target beginning date, and who puts the steering committee together?
So once we execute,
and who selects the key stakeholders?
okay. Once we secure finish the contract, procure, we will bring them in and talk through all of that and provide a proposal to the council, just like we've done even today with the comp study. Same thing we did with strategic plans. So they will bring and lay out the direction, and the council will be able to give feedback at that time.
Yeah, because I'm just asking. That's it.
Mr. Khalid?
So, and I'm gonna direct this question to our city manager. We have consultants doing a zoning ordinance, consultants, soon we'll have someone doing a comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, now the economic development plan. We have a Main Street Authority in the works, a Development Authority in the works, and a Downtown Development Authority in the works. So there's a lot of stuff happening. I think what I would like to hear first for the council, and then later on, I think we need to go out and replicate this in town halls for the community, is for them to understand why we're doing all of these different plans, how they interact with each other, what the timelines are, because I can see constituents saying, well, I just came to a town hall about the strategic plan, and then there's one about the budget, and then there's one about this, and so like it seems like we have a bunch of consultants running around, and I think if you could just bring a little structure or explain the structure of what all is happening both for us and our residents.
Absolutely. So I think the really cool thing is that our city is busy, and these activities have never happened before. So there was never an opportunity for when the city was we were the SSD, there was not an opportunity to actually control your planning and put all these things in place. As such, I think what is happening now, and why this economic development plan, which I think is actually not the final, but a very important cause for all of those other things. So you have your zoning ordinance, which you're working on currently right now, which will be followed by the comprehensive plan. I think Councilmember Gilliard, not just tonight, but really, at least since I've been here, if not before, has been very much harping on the importance of the strategic plan because it's overarching. And so now that your strategic plan is, I think they're a month or less away from bringing back the first draft back to you for review, well, that document is your overarching, and now you have additional prongs that connect the dots. So one piece that has been missing for a while is your park master plan. That will be coming back to you very soon. You also have your zoning piece and your comprehensive plan, which will control land use in conjunction with your overall strategic plan for the entire city. But then with these other economic development activities that you have, remember with the DDA and your DA, that responsibility to a certain extent now leaves the council, and you have this separate body that will be coordinating those activities on your behalf. And so by having that group out there, it is important that your economic development plan help guide and lead them in coordination with your overall wishes for the city and your strategic plan, and in alignment with your land use activities from your comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. So they all have to work together. And so I 150% agree with Councilmember Gilliard that the first step is laying that strategic plan. But you don't want to not have, especially new council, new city, these other plans are also guided by you, and so they have to kind of tell the story as you move forward. So what do we want with land use? Great. How do we want our zoning to be coordinated? Great. Now, economic development plan, ensure that our vision for Destination South Fulton aligns. Now, DDA, Main Street Program, DA, look at this piece that we have put together and abide by it as you coordinate. So it's not which comes first, the chicken or the egg. It is, we ain't had no chicken or no egg, so let's put it all in place and you guys follow our vision. And so the procurements have kind of been, if you follow, they've been in that process. Strategic plan first, you actually started meeting on that in the last fiscal year. It just takes a while. And then you came back with the zoning ordinance and comprehensive plan. Now you're getting economic development. Next you'll get parks. And so it is a method to the madness, but I think your question is on the interrelatedness for the public as well, which is important. So as soon as these procurements are done, especially with this final one, we'll be convening all of those who have been assigned and have them in a room to say, okay, you're asking staff, because I'll tell you, staff can't do all of these different town halls. It's tough. And so how do we come together? What's your plan? What's your plan? What's your plan? And how can we do a massive town hall? I would revert you back to not this last city manager's report that we presented, but the one before, where I mentioned we will be bringing back the subject matter in town halls in that memo that was attached. That process is the process that we're utilizing. Bring all of the vendors forward and then put together these public town halls that involve the council and receive feedback.
Okay, so I would just, a couple more things. I think it would be good to have a calendar, like a sort of master calendar. I would love to see that on the website that just says, here are all of the planning activities that are happening in the city so people can, see which ones they want to go to. And then in terms of economic development, I know that some of this, like some of the we've talked a little bit about borrowing money, and I know that some of the bonding and all of that will happen through the DA and the DDA, which will shield the city from liability. But when we do have to borrow money, I'm just wondering, do we have a timeline for when we're going to have a credit rating, or if we do the DA and the DDA, do we not have to worry about that?
So I would defer to the CFO on the timeline for the bond ratings and things of that nature. But I know we've met with a variety of different banks, and there's certain thresholds that you have to meet. But I again defer to the CFO on those activities.
I would just like to see the next time.
I'm trying to get us, if they set the back quarter to 10.
That's fine.
Madam Clerk, there were some things that were taken off consent. Ms. Gilliard had something, a resolution. I want to go and vote on those.
Okay, but there's a motion on the floor made by Councilmember Khalid and seconded by Councilmember Willis to approve the BAE economic.
All right, all those in favor? That passes. Go ahead.
The next item is resolution authorizing the city manager to execute assignment and assumption of contract.
Ain't the one. She took one. Ms. Gumbs, Ms. Gilliard.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I was trying to get through the.
Go ahead. Well, go ahead.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute assignment and assumption of contract documents between Fulton County and various contractors performing the 2016 T-SPLOST funded transportation projects.
I'll accept the motion.
I make a motion that we approve the T-SPLOST assumption.
Second. Probably move to second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? That passes. Next, Madam Clerk.
The next item is a resolution by the City of South Fulton setting forth a zoning and development moratorium pertaining to city districts 3 through 6 and other lawful purposes.
I move that we approve resolution for zoning and development moratorium for districts 3 through 6.
Second.
Probably move to second. In discussion? Mr. Khalid, I see you're in. You?
I would just like to instruct our zoning consultants to meet with us in the next 45 days so that we can find a permanent solution by amendment. I've been asking individually for them to come. I really need them to come and meet with us so that we can write that up.
All right, Ms. Willis?
Yes, for District 3 residents, I will be sitting down with our planning and zoning director to go over some of the land uses in our district. And hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, be able to remove the moratorium. This is not something that I'm rushing to do. I know that some people are anxious, but we will be deliberate about what goes in District 3. And we will make sure that residents have spoken to me and they want to make sure that, you know, we maintain a certain quality of life. So we will be deliberate about how our district is planned. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Jackson?
I would like to, I guess, amend this ordinance, this imposition of moratorium. If you go to A, the line number 128, it left out 5.
So you saying you want to include district, it says 3 through 6?
No, it says 3 and 4 for 45 days.
No.
Go to line 128.
The resolution on the agenda, what we're talking about, says districts 3 through 6.
But I'm
But
saying,
in the text,
in the
there are
text,
different times.
number 128, there's a different section, it said 3 and 4, and I need to include 5. And 6, you want it?
So that, Councilwoman Jackson, that particular section relates to group homes.
Mhm.
So you're saying you would like to include District 5 within that?
And 6.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion on the floor? I'll entertain a motion to include that amendment.
Well, it would be to,
Councilmember Willis, if you would accept that friendly amendment.
Yes, I do.
Sure.
I accept.
Okay, and it was seconded by Councilmember Gilliard.
Right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That passes. Next, Ms. Clerk.
Next is the resolution of the City of South Fulton in support of proposed program to promote healthy and nutritional food options within the city and other lawful purposes. Councilmember Gilliard.
I just want to add one thing to line 34. After technical assistance, I would like to add from the Atlanta Regional Commission.
What's that going to cost?
Nothing. It's technical assistance.
Okay. You make a motion?
I want to make a motion that we accept this resolution in the best interest of the health and prosperity of the city.
I second.
Properly moved to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That passes. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
The next is an ordinance, the second reading, an ordinance creating Title 17, Animal Control of the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances.
We pulled it.
Pull that to the next, which meeting was April 26th.
Next is action item request to approve the authorization to the city manager to enter into a contract with VSM Enterprise to operate and manage work miles.
I'm gonna make a motion. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna make a motion that we hold that to that executive.
The next item,
As nobody said second. I'm about to kill you. Probably move to second. All those in favor? Okay, next. Madam Clerk.
council approval for the finance department to hire an additional accounting associate utilizing funds in the adopted FY19 budget.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move for the approval of finance department to hire an additional accounting associate.
Second.
Probably move to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That passes.
No, not.
Next, we have the city manager's monthly report.
No. We also pulled the intergovernmental agreement for animal control.
When do we pull the conversation?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought that was the one that you wanted to, April 23rd?
No, it's cool. We can call it up now, Madam Clerk.
Okay, request for approval of an intergovernmental agreement for the provision for animal control between South Fulton and Fulton County.
I accept the motion.
I make a motion to approve IDA with Fulton County Animal Control.
Here a second.
Second.
Okay.
All right,
Discussion, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is one of my concerns and pet peeves. On Saturday, March the 23rd, there were about 6 to 8 horses that were loose on Butner Road. And so much so that I was called out of a meeting to come and corral 6 to 8 horses. I called the mayor, I called the police, the phone calls started coming into 911. Residents were informed that animal control was being dispatched along with our police officers. I think this started about maybe 6:30, 8 horses have traveled down Butner Road with cars going 60, 70, 80 miles, okay? It started to get dark. They even tried it off onto Thaxton Road. They was on Thaxton Road, they went into a subdivision. I had residents helping me corral 6 to 8 horses, which is unacceptable. I even had a resident that put the 6 to 8 horses behind a fence. They broke out the fence and still went and pooped on somebody's yard. That's number one. They've been through 2 subdivisions, including my own. We had to shut down the streets. I had to park my car. Trucks we had security cars. And animal control by 10 o'clock at night still did not show up to impound those horses. So I had both of the horse farmers that were there. I have their contact information. I reached out to both of them. Everybody said they weren't their horses. So mysteriously, 6 to 8 horses just were dropped in District 2, running up and down the street. This is a safety hazard. This is not the first time that this has happened. Every time we call animal control, they don't come. They issue citations, they drop citations. I don't know what is going on, but I want this fixed, number one. And number two, I want to know how much we're paying them, because they said they were in Sandy Springs and they couldn't make it to South Fulton. Now, if we're paying them, that is a problem for me, because they need to be impounding these horses, especially when they're saying the owners don't want them. So I guess that's my first question, is how much we're paying them.
Let me just say this too, Mr. Manager, my office has started, and Councilman Gumbs knows, my office has started to put together a meeting with myself, Councilwoman Gumbs, Animal Control, Code Enforcement, those people who deal with this. So we can, one thing that bothers me is that we got to find a process of identifying these animals and who they belong to. I need to go back to branding animals, I guess, like we did in the Cowboys and stuff. But we need to find out how we're going to do that. So we got a meeting that we're trying to put together.
So that is also part of the livestock ordinance that we've been working on. But also, Mayor, this will be the second time that we pulled animal control in.
Yes.
We pulled code enforcement in, we pulled the police in, and nothing has changed.
This will be the last.
I am very serious when I say that in the dark, people were almost hitting a 500-pound horse. And it is a safety hazard. I was scared myself because my daughter picked up the phone and called me and said, "Mom, we almost hit a horse." At this point in time, it's just ridiculous. And it's nothing, I don't know what we can do, but I just know that we're wasting money with animal control and we're not getting anything done.
So, Councilmember, I think I put on record that I agree with you. Remember when we first decided to go with animal control, it was within my first month of being here, and I told you that the amount of money that they are requesting from us, I believe is too much, that we could bring that in-house. And so as a part of these upcoming budget deliberations, what you guys tasked me to do was for this year, we would partner with animal control because we had less than 30 days to come to a decision or agreement. And so we decided to go ahead and partner with Fulton County. But in FY 2020, we would look at a model very similar to College Park, I believe, who pays the lowest amount for animal control because all they utilize animal control for is storing the animals. And so what they did was they hired some permanent staff and they leveraged the facility, and then they manage their entire animal control, and then they provide the storage by Fulton County. So we're looking at that same model. Nothing has changed for us, but we do not have the ability within year to make the adjustment. And so what we can do is hold their feet to the fire, but I would say that the service that we are receiving is questionable throughout everyone who has this contract. And so it is our plan and intent to bring a recommendation to you to where the city of South Fulton manages animal control. And so we have not wavered from that commitment, and we'll move forward in doing so. And I think the meeting that the electeds have scheduled is one that we'll make sure that the highest level of management is a part of, and we'll hold the contractors' feet to the fire. But I mean, I think we've said it publicly, and we won't change that it is our hope and desire to bring that in-house so that you can hold us accountable instead of some nameless, faceless contractor.
So at this point, we're asking to enter into an IGA with Fulton County, and my concerns are, I don't think that we need to be doing that right now. Is that what?
Well, but so this is the same agreement. We've agreed to it in principle months ago, and we've been operating under the contract technically. The reason it's coming back before you, I believe, and I'll defer to the attorney, but there were some changes in language because I think we already authorized this.
We authorized the IGA. The county wanted to make certain changes, so they kicked it back and said the one that we authorized wasn't the one that we intended, so we want to go forward with this agreement. So that's where we are now. I think the problem with what you described is that we have, pursuant to this agreement, and we have not approved it yet, but we've been operating under it tentatively in a good faith effort until we actually confirm this. And if you confirm this, you'll be subject to it through December of this year. And then if you don't renew, then it will automatically renew for another year. But if you look at page 4, there is a list of priority for when they're required to respond. And with the situation that you described, it sounds like that could be either 3, which is a public safety emergency, or it can be item 7, which is a loose animal call. It sounds like they are categorizing that as item 7, a loose animal call, which only obligates them to respond within 24 hours versus 4 hours.
So I can personally recall at least 8 to 10 times from the time we talked about this agreement until now, how many times these horses have gotten out and how many times we've called animal control and nothing has taken place. So I don't feel comfortable at this time. I don't know if we need to hold this at this point so I can read through it, but I just don't think that it's something that we need to be doing. So I'm going to make a motion to ask for us to hold this.
Probably move to second. Any further discussion?
I wanted, I did.
Okay.
Can I do this in the meantime? Can I communicate with the county and the animal control servicer and tell them that for us to move forward, it may require us putting a provision in here that speaks to that?
That's it.
So that way that if it's not addressed throughout the rest of the year, we would have grounds to pull out of this contract.
Right, I think that's right. Ms. Jackson, real fast.
Real fast.
Ms. Jackson, I said anything.
Okay, my question is, if their animal control did not come, and I do, young man, do we know if the people accepted the horses? What my understanding is, somebody accepted the horse.
So after getting in contact, let me take that back. after chasing the horses all throughout the subdivision at night, we ended up seeing 2 young kids walking the horses back. They did not go to Mr. Fulton's farm, they went to the other farm, which is who initially I spoke with, and they took off and said, oh, they're not my horses.
But they took the horse.
So, well,
They
they weren't the same guys that I spoke with. But I'm pretty sure they're all connected. But it goes through the process of we need to learn how to, we need to identify these horses through some type of microchip, whatever the case may be.
Okay. Madam Clerk, what else?
Did we vote on that?
Councilmember Rao made the motion.
And Councilmember second, but then Councilmember Gumbs offered a substitute motion
To hold?
to hold it. And
So
it
we're voting on
wasn't,
the original
it
motion
wasn't
or
seconded.
substitute?
Second.
No,
No, he said, which one are we voting?
Which one are we voting on? Original motion and the substitute?
Well, it would be subject to the original requester to withdraw their motion and allow the
Yes.
council to
Would
proceed.
you withdraw? Who made the first one?
Rao.
Ralph.
I make a motion to remove.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? That passes, I think. Yeah. Go ahead. And now we're on the second motion.
I'd like to make a motion to hold AGR 2019-010.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Yes. He want to say something
I think
regarding
it's
the
just
money.
important to note that the staff would still continue to pay the agreement and keep the services intact while you hold it and review what you want. Just want to make sure we're not asking for additional authorization. We will continue to move forward in that manner.
Sure.
Okay, and I want to make it very clear that I'm going to hold their feet to the fire because this is really ridiculous. And they need to be able to respond probably within an hour.
Yeah, I think we got it now.
I don't think they got it.
But I think all
Okay.
I think
All those in
the
favor? You have
question
another
though
comment,
is,
sir?
without an agreement, do you actually have the tool to hold their feet to the fire?
Well, we have an agreement. You just said we're going to keep paying. So what are we paying?
So you're
without an
paying for
agreement?
animal control services, but you have not come to agreement on terms. Well, look, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to touch that part.
So legally, if we're paying, then if we're making the good faith effort to pay, then they have to make equal good faith effort to abide by the terms. I think the problem is just that their interpretation is different than your interpretation, because it sounds like you're classifying a loose animal as a public safety emergency, especially with the vehicles in the situation that you described. It sounds like they are classifying it as a loose animal. If you classify it as a loose animal pursuant to this agreement, they don't have to come out till 24 hours. If it's a public safety emergency, then they have to come out within 4 hours.
Okay, so you and I can talk.
So we can settle that through revising this language to make it clear what we think constitutes in that situation of a public safety emergency.
All right, and let's vote. All those in favor? That passes. Ms. Jackson, are you voting?
Oh.
That's unanimous. Go ahead, Ms. Burke.
The city managers. Next
Do
is
you
the-
have?
I believe the report is written. Remember
Yeah.
the last portion of the money
Sure.
is a written report. I think it's about 60 pages and it includes quite a bit of wealth of information.
Okay, Ms. Burke, go ahead.
council comments.
Attorney, did you have anything?
No, I have nothing, Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, let's go ahead. We only have 15 minutes.
We
So,
only need 15.
okay, well,
We're gonna
let's
try.
make the motion, please.
I make a motion that we go into executive session
Second,
for 15 minutes.
Second, let's go.
Real estate.
For what?
And actually, so every time we give a time limitation, I kind of encourage you to say, I don't want you to do anything beyond that, and then, it's challenged. So my recommendation would be that internally, you come out within 15 minutes if that's the
Okay,
desire.
I amend my motion to go to executive session for real estate only.
Yes. Probably move to second. Let's, all those in favor, let's have a executive session. Y'all talking.
Can y'all come on for the, that's another. You don't want to be giving them girls service.
I will come back here. Where's Miss Dr.? No, she's getting the motion. Dr. Ross coming?
Yes, sir. 30 seconds.
Mary, you can go ahead and reconvene.
Helen had one, so I had one that was mine. Was the rest of the rest?
Okay, Madam Clerk, there's a motion that we're going to bring forward.
Well, I think I can highlight the item.
You need to make a motion to reconvene into the regular meeting.
Well, yes. I entertain that motion to reconvene. Properly moved, second discussion, hearing none, all those in favor? Fine. Madam Clerk?
Mayor, I think they're waiting to hear who the second was.
Second was Rose.
Okay, Gilliard and Jackson. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager in collaboration with the city attorney to negotiate and execute an IGA with the county for use of Merck miles not to exceed $1 and negotiate a month-to-month contract with BMS for the provision of services not to exceed $260,000.
Second.
Been properly moved and second discussion, hearing none, all those in favor? Okay. Did I close this in?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right. I'll let the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and second, all in favor? Any discussion? All in favor? That's adjourned.
She's that emotional.
Yeah.